God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. Thank you for joining me. The big story of the day remains the immigration question. We're still dealing with DACA and funding the government, and we're going to be talking about that today. So, there's been a long chain of events throughout the end of last week, this past weekend, and yesterday and today that has generated several different discussions, and I'm going to go through those in this video. First of all, you'll recall that last Friday, Dick Durbin alleges that the President Trump said that there were that we were bringing in immigrants from S-hole countries, and why did we want to continue to bring in these immigrants? That's what Dick Durbin said that the president had said in this meeting. But it's actually on record that Dick Durbin has lied about private White House meetings in the past. The most recent example is from 2013 when, this is from a Politico report, where Dick Durbin took to Facebook to say that one GOP House leader told President Obama, "I can't even stand to look at you." However, both the White House and the Speaker's office denied Durbin's account of the events. Obama's press secretary, Jay Carney, spoke with participants of the meeting, and it was reported by Mr. Carney that it didn't happen the way that Dick Durbin said it did. So when we're talking about this story and what Dick Durbin is saying happened in this meeting, we're listening to an unreliable narrator and not a trustworthy narrator. This is a person that's telling a story, and he has a history of making stories up, so we have very little reason to trust this person. In addition to this from 2013, I also watched Mark Levin's free Levin TV episode that he put up on his YouTube channel, CRTV. I would highly recommend going and watching it. It was very good presentation. Mark Levin said this of Dick Durbin: "The deceased Senator Fred Thompson told me that the most disreputable member of the Senate, more than Schumer, more than any of them, was Dick Durbin. He never kept his word." And yet it's Durbin that the media has chosen to believe over some of the other senators that were in this meeting. Senators like Mr. Tom Cotton and Mr. David Perdue. David Perdue appeared on one of the Sunday shows to say that Trump did not use the phrase that Dick Durbin is saying that he used. David Perdue was on George Stephanopoulos' Sunday show. Tom Cotton was on Deface the Nation to also dispute the claims. Where is that sentence in the meeting? There it is. Yeah, they're letting you know that Tom Cotton said, said in a Friday statement, and then on Deface the Nation also disputed the claim by Dick Durbin. And that prompted the Washington Post to go digging and see if they could find anybody, any Joe Schmo, that would tell them that Senators Cotton and Perdue had lied about this. And that's why the headline of their column is that Cotton and Perdue have been outed. Here's their source: 3 White House officials. First of all, these are anonymous officials. Let me get that filthy word off the screen. These are anonymous officials, which means they're imaginary. They don't exist. They've been made up by this Washington Post reporter. They're called White House officials. Now, I didn't understand what White House officials meant until just today. I put these pieces together for myself. What does the Washington Post mean when they use the word official? Well, to use the way that the Washington Post uses it, I am an official of the branch of the federal government that I work for. I could say something about the secretary of the department of the federal government that I work for, and the Washington Post would write, such and such department official says, whatever it is that I could make up. That's all that this means. The White House official could be the water boy for the kitchen, for the White House kitchen, who is making this up. That's all that White House official means. It's a low-grade person that's making this up. And anonymous White House officials have been feeding the mainstream media faulty information for over 365 days now. It's been a full year that we've been relying solely on anonymous sources who could be literally anybody in the White House for information that has only been damaging to the president. And because of this incident, because of the misreading of the public immigration policy meeting that happened last week, and the subsequent policy briefing that Dick Durbin was part of, and his subsequent temper tantrum, and the subsequent, I realize I'm saying subsequent a lot, these are just events that are following along with each other, the subsequent Cotton and Purdue appearances on the Sunday shows, we now have the mainstream media getting the gears turning to try and terrify people that a government shutdown is coming. Only this time, the tables are turned. This time, the Republicans are in charge, and it's the petulant Democrats that are threatening a shutdown, trying to get their way. In the previous administration, it was the Democrats that were in charge, and it was the petulant Republicans that were trying to get their way and forcing a government shutdown. So clearly the government shutdown that's coming, coming because of a funding deadline, is going to be the Democrats' fault. Unless you're the mainstream media. According again to the Washington Post, the Democrats can't shut down the government. They're actually incapable of participating in a government shutdown. Here's the Washington Post's logic. Democrats cannot shut down the government because they are the minority party and have neither the power nor the responsibility to keep the lights on and the government open. Now, they might be... they are the minority party in technicality. The party that's in control is the Republicans. Roll back the clock back to 2013 when the last government shutdown happened. And it was the Republicans, again, that was said of the Republicans, they are shutting down the government. But who was in charge? Obama was president, the Democrats ran the Senate, and the Democrats were in charge. Everybody knew the Democrats were in charge. The Republicans had gotten nothing done with having control over the House. The Democrats were in charge. Roll the clock forward to 2018, and who's threatening a government shutdown? 2013, it was the Republicans. Democrats were in charge. Now it's 2018. And according to the Washington Post, Republicans are in charge threatening a shutdown. That doesn't make sense to me. That logic doesn't seem to compute. And it's because when it comes to government shutdowns, it's as I said the last time there were rumblings of a government shutdown, which was just last year. Government shutdowns are only bad for Republicans. In the conventional mainstream media wisdom, the government shutdown only hurts Republicans. It's actually redundant to say harmful to Republicans government shutdown, because by saying government shutdown, you're implying that the Republicans will be harmed by this government shutdown. This is why the Washington Post can say Democrats can't shut down the government, but they can win on DACA. Because if the government gets shut down, and the Democrats are the ones that do it, in de facto, in reality, they shut the government down, Democrats shut the government down, they will win on DACA because government shutdowns only hurt Republicans. I say again, in the eyes of the mainstream media, because of the way they think about things and the way that they control the narrative, government shutdowns only hurt Republicans. Therefore, if the government is shut down, then Democrats will win on DACA because by definition, a government shutdown hurts Republicans. Therefore, they must capitulate on DACA. Never mind that the government was shut down 7 times when Reagan was running the show. I looked it up. I think it was 7. There were, ever since we've been keeping track of government shutdowns, there have been only about a dozen. And the government was quote-unquote shut down under President Reagan at least 5, I think it was 7 times across his presidency. And not only was he reelected and the Republicans remained in charge, George H.W. Bush was elected after Reagan had fulfilled the term limits. We actually didn't take a hard left turn, in spite of all of the government shutdowns that happened on Republicans' watch. The country didn't take the hard left turn that it did under Obama until, of course, he was elected, in spite of all those government shutdowns. Now, there's a rare take on this potential government shutdown over on 538. This is Nate Silver's website. He's a big liberal Democrat. The Democrats trust the 538 polls like Christians trust the Bible. And Nate Silver's website, 538, says shutting down the government over DACA is a risky bet for Democrats. This seems bizarre to me that a left-leaning publication would say such a thing. But let's look at some of the reasons that they say a government shutdown would be risky. Polling shows that the majority of Americans are in favor of renewing DACA. I highly doubt that, first of all. And that more Americans would blame Republicans if a government shutdown occurred. However, and he continues on. He's just citing poll after poll after poll in this story. A new poll shows that just 17% of Americans believe that finding a replacement for DACA is an extremely important priority for Congress. In fact, that's ranked 12th among the 15 domestic issues tested by Harvard. So what this would suggest is that DACA is not so important as to prompt a government shutdown. In the opinion of this writer for Nate Silver, Mr. Harry Enton. I'm going to say Enton. This is why it's a risk for Democrats to shut down the government over DACA, because it's 12th most important. Only 17% of Americans believe that it's of extremely important priority. I want to say that there was another poll in here that I should cite, but there's so many that we'll get lost in the weeds if I keep going there. The short version is, this is my opinion on a government shutdown. A government shutdown does not, in and of itself, harm one of the political parties. And here's why. We elect our representatives, presidents, congressmen, senators, because they say that they will go to Washington and they will do X, Y, and Z, and that lines up with our principles. That's why we elect certain people. That's why I voted the way that I did in the previous election, and while I'll continue to vote the way that I will in future elections, is because I will vote for the candidates that espouse my policies, especially if they have a record of voting for those policies once they make it to those positions. So if a candidate that I support, that I voted for, goes to government shutdown over an issue that he said that I want him to do, then I'm going to continue to vote for that person. He's proven that he wants to fight, and he will do whatever it takes to achieve the goal that he laid out in his campaign. So if the Republicans have campaigned on shutting down DACA, on shutting down amnesty, on shutting down illegal immigration and mass unfiltered immigration, and they take the government to a shutdown over this thing, that will be a good thing for the Republicans. Democrats, on the other hand, have campaigned on continuing to bring in mass unfiltered immigration, have campaigned on preserving DACA and preserving the status of those criminal aliens under DACA. If they take the government into shutdown over in the name of accomplishing those goals, it will be a good thing for the Democrats. And then, of course, when a government shutdown is resolved, I don't think that the quote-unquote loser of the government shutdown is even hurt in any real way. And here's why I think that is. I think that a reasonable person, which I like to think myself as, would say, we can't keep the government shut down forever, so somebody's going to have to give. And if my side has to give, then I can say, well, they couldn't leave the government shut down forever. They had to give. Somebody had to give. We just happened to be the ones that gave. And in the event that some sort of compromise can be reached, then I can even say we didn't even give up that much. Which is why I think that government shutdowns don't really hurt people as much as the mainstream media says. Now, if it were to happen to be over an issue that the American people are totally unified on, then the side that shuts down the government in the name of doing the thing that the American people don't want done, I can see that as being harmful to that political party. You know, they shut down the government over doing this thing, and they fought for X number of days to force that thing to be done in the name of funding the government. Therefore, we're not going to elect as many of them the next chance that we get. But most people don't vote single issue, down the ticket party line style voting. Most people vote over a number of issues, and most people will say, well, my party is the one that shut down the government over this thing that I didn't really want, but my elected representative, while he participated in that government shutdown, also does all these things that I want. Therefore, I'm willing to vote for him, even though he has demonstrated his willingness to shut down the government over this thing. That's not even to mention that most people's lives aren't touched by government shutdowns. All of the government's obligations, all of the dollars that it is obliged to send out, all of the people that it is obliged to pay, continue to be paid during a government shutdown. You know who doesn't get paid during a government shutdown? I don't know who doesn't get paid during a government shutdown. The government shut down for a few days in 2013, and everyone went on with their lives as if nothing had happened. I remember being in college when the government was shut down, and I still had to go to class. I was working for the college when the government was shut down, and I still had to go to work. All of the restaurants on campus were still open. I was still able to go and buy all the food that I wanted. My car continued to run. All of the street lights in the city that I was living in continued to function. Nothing actually happened that directly impacted me that I could point to and say this happened because the government was shut down. That's the other reason that I think government shutdowns don't really hurt anybody, especially in the long run when it comes to electoral outlooks. So that's all that I have to say on the stories at this time. I think looking forward, I would hope that the Republicans maintain their stance on no deal for DACA unless we get the wall. Unfortunately, what I'm afraid that's going to look like is we amnestize the DACA participants so that we don't have to keep having this discussion, and we say we're going to do the wall in a year or two, something stupid like that. And that's, of course, going to result in more illegal immigration, more amnesty in the future. I'm afraid, here's what I think would happen if amnesty were to happen. If amnesty happens on the DACA participants, that sends the signal that all of Donald Trump's election rhetoric, all of the rhetoric on cracking down on immigration that has shrinked illegal immigration so far, will be seen as just talk. And that will cause the borders to open like floodgates, and new illegal immigrants would pour into the country. That's what I'm afraid would happen. Let me know what you guys think will happen as a result of these discussions. Do you think the government is going to shut down? If it does, give me a guess. How long do you think that that's going to be? Normally, government shutdowns don't last for more than a week. I think the one that happened in 2013, the government shut down on Monday and was open by Wednesday or something like that. Government shutdowns don't last for very long. So, do you think that the government shutdown will have a direct impact on you? Let me know what you're thinking in the comments. If you like this video, leave a like, hit subscribe. If you want to see more content like this, make sure that you hit the bell for notifications, because I'm doing, so far with 2 exceptions, daily uploads every weekday. Thank you again so much for joining me. Until next time, have a good night, and God bless.